Today I will be talking about the mind, and I'm going to explain how the mind works, your thoughts, your feelings, and how all of these things work within yourself. There are many people who think that your mind is way too vast, way too impossible to understand, and it should be something that takes one entire lifetime to learn. If we discover how the basics work, then we can take steps to delving deeper into our mind. But many times we neglect the basics, don't know how thoughts work, emotions work, and how our actual mind works in receiving information, thoughts, feelings, emotions from others. And so we end up just feeling lost. We become victim to our outer circumstances many times. And then these things can make our mind a very terrible place to be in. It can become very uncomfortable, and the thoughts can actually intrude their way into our own experience whenever they want. In order to explain all of the abstract things that happen within the mind, we're going to compare it to something outside of us. Because as we do this, it is easier to recognize things outside of us and then apply it to ourselves in the form of a metaphor or an allegory. So our mind can actually be compared to a garden or some kind of farm where there's just big land, a big field, and then just plants there. You have a gardener or a farmer who is there tending this field. The first thing to understand here is that you are the farmer. When it comes to your mind, that is you. The field is your mind. So now the field takes any kind of seed that just happens to land in that field, whether it's good or bad. So let's say you want to plant a bunch of tomato plants or cucumber plants. You have a specific plan and purpose for what you want to put in this field. But it just so happens that another seed comes in. It happens to be grass, for example. This is not something that you wanted there, but it just so happened to land there. So the field just takes anything in, and this is your mind. It's the field itself. Now the seeds are thoughts. They are thoughts that come in from yourself, from your own conscious awareness, and they can come from outside sources as well. So we've established 3 points now. We've established the farmer, which is you, your conscious awareness, the person who should be in charge of the farm. We have the field, which is your mind, and then we have seeds, which are thoughts. Those are the first 3 aspects to understand. So now, as a farmer, it is your job to keep this field, this garden, under control. So now, I actually used to work on a farm. I used to work on an organic farm. If you have farmed before, you know that if you do not keep up with a field, it will go rampant. All kinds of weeds will grow, a bunch of pests come, they ruin all the plants that you want to grow, and you have to constantly be on top of it. Being a farmer is a full-time job, and this is the same with your own mind. So now if you leave a field barren, if you leave it empty and you don't plant anything, something will grow there, because that is the nature of how things work. If you were to leave a field empty, it's just going to be full of weeds. And then if you just continue to leave it, it'll be a patch full of grass or whatever decides to land there. And this is all of the impressions and things that people say outside of us that happen to just come into our mind. And we leave them many times unattended, and they're allowed to grow and become big thoughts, big emotions that take root into our mind. Now, what we must do as the farmer, as the keeper of this field, the keeper of our own minds, is actually remove the weeds and plant the things that we want for ourselves. So naturally we want to be happy. We naturally want to be at peace. We want to be comfortable. We don't want to feel like we are miserable or terrible people. We have to sow good thoughts. We have to put good seeds in the ground for ourselves. So now what happens when we put a new thought into the ground is it's actually a small seedling. And now small seedlings can get damaged quite easily. So we actually have to take care of them more so than plants that are already established. You may have difficulty keeping a seedling alive because they are very prone to pests. They're very prone to birds and all kinds of things that eat small things. They're also very sensitive to sunlight and the elements, very harsh rain and very harsh winds as well. They need lots of protection. And so this is your job as the farmer to keep nourishing these seeds until they are strong enough to be able to stand on their own. So the thoughts of happiness you want for yourself must be given the correct attention in order for them to grow solid enough to be left alone. With small seedlings, you must give them water and attention. So these can be interchanged. The attention that you give the seedlings or your thoughts will make them grow and cause them to mature. We can actually give negative attention to the thoughts that we don't want we must be careful where we put our attention, because we don't want to put our attention into the wrong thing. We don't want to nourish the plants that we don't want, and we don't want to nourish the thoughts we don't want in our own mind. At the same time the seedlings are growing, weeds will continue to grow in the empty spots in the soil. Seeds will always find an opening and always find an entrance, and they'll gain root wherever they can. So now what you must do is remove those seeds, or the bad thoughts you don't want, from wherever they may come. Whatever seed decides to come in, it's your job to pull them out while they're small, because this is when they're most susceptible. Now, many times, people who have been through emotional abuse, manipulation, or some kind of trauma, their field or their mind has been infiltrated by someone else. Someone else has dropped many kinds of seeds in there that have done nothing but harm them. So we'll compare having an apple tree to having a good thought. So now let's say you want to have just a big field of apple trees or good thoughts. Someone has come in and put a bunch of thorn bushes everywhere. So instead of you having an apple orchard, you now have just a field of thorns where it just hurts being there and is very painful. So this is a plant just like any, but the field will always take in whatever comes in. And so when these thoughts from the past are fully emerged and fully rooted in your mind, it becomes a whole system. And now you actually have to plow the whole field. And so you have to remove all of the bushes, and this is a lot of hard work. So again, I used to work on a farm. Doing this by hand was incredibly difficult. It took hours. It was grueling. It was exhausting. But by the time we were done, we had an empty field. Now, we may get hurt, we may get cut by putting our hands on the thorns and the thistles, but this was all part of the process. So sometimes we actually have to tear the whole field in order to restart. We cannot start planting on a field that has something there already, because the seeds that will take root will just be choked out by the existing plants that are already there. Those plants have been there from your past experiences. They have deep roots, and they have to be removed one way or another in order for you to develop a new way of being, because you first must remove that before you can start planting something you want for yourself. And when it comes to manipulators and emotional abuse, they are farmers as well. So they have their own mind and their own farm and their own fields. So let's say you live with somebody or know somebody who is very abusive, for example. Now, what happens is their field or their mind usually has this thorn field in it. Like any plant, they give off seeds. When people project how they feel and they make you feel bad, it is just the expression of what they have within themselves. So now their mind, which is this field full of thorn bushes, it's giving off seeds of more thorn bushes. And now the wind will carry this and blow this over to your field. And then those seeds will take root into your field. And this is how that happens. So now you have this in your mind, and then they have the thorn bushes in their mind as well. And it just keeps spreading from there. What you must do is remove them before they can actually harm you. And if they're there, you have to just tear up the whole field and start over. Sometimes you just need to reconstruct your whole mind and start from scratch in order to get to a place where you want to be. And that's the way it works. You don't always choose what goes into your mind. Just like weeds that can come in through the wind on an empty field, your mind can accept all manner of thoughts and ideas. This is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something that happens because we are very impressionable. We're always absorbing the world around us, and our field is very open and vulnerable. We cannot create an environment where we just shut ourselves out from the world because we wouldn't have anything growing. So now I'm going to throw in another element, and that is going to be farm animals. So now you are the farmer, and the farmer needs help sometimes. He can employ the help of farm animals to help him tend the farm. So now when you have weeds that are growing, sometimes you can have the help of a goat, for example, that can go and eat the weeds. Sometimes they'll accidentally eat the crops that you want, but this just means that you have to train them. Farm animals can be likened unto your willpower or your discipline or even your emotional nature. Now you can also employ the help of a bull, and a bull can actually help you plow the field. With any farm animal, you want to keep them within a certain boundary. And if you have a powerful animal like a bull, this can be a great asset. A bull can be likened unto willpower or strength of mind. Your mind can be very volatile, and a bull can actually tear up the whole thing. So like, let's say you have a field full of tomatoes, cucumbers, and all kinds of wonderful vegetables and fruits. An animal that is strong like a bull can come and trample all over these things. But at the same time, a bull can help you plow the field and restart. So a bull is important to have as well. Our mind itself is not the problem. The field is not the problem. The field merely takes in everything. So our mind is not the issue. Our mind is just taking in everything around us. And we can actually impress ourselves as well with thoughts and feelings that we would like for ourselves. The issue is choosing the correct thoughts to put in this field. And this depends from person to person. Not everybody wants the same thing for themselves. Not everybody has the same wants and desires. But we have a general understanding that we would like good things for ourselves. So this comes from us most of the time. People don't always want good things for us. People sometimes manipulate us, abuse us, and so they're putting things into our head, into our field that do not benefit us. And so this can go undetected. It can negatively affect us in many ways. Instead of attacking our mind, our field, and getting mad at ourselves, all we got to do is take control and take order of our garden, of our farm, of our field, in order for us to live the life that we want. It's up to us to choose all of the thoughts that we want for ourselves. And if we have a mind full of trauma, full of fear, full of all these negative feelings, thoughts, and ideas, then we must do something to remove all of these. There is no point in being overly upset at yourself because you have a mind full of fear and all of these negative emotions. It is something that you must transform, to reconstruct, to start over with, because it's not the field's fault. The field, it's merely the medium that holds all of the seeds, all of the thoughts. As we change our thoughts, as we change our beliefs, our field will work with us. And then we can farm and take control of the field itself so that we can have a bountiful harvest, one that actually benefits us. As we have good thoughts that take root into our garden, these can grow and take care of themselves. And just like with the thorn bushes that give off seeds, these good thoughts will give off seeds of their own as well. And then the farm will take care of itself. All you have to do is maintain it from there. Don't feel like it's the end of the world because you have negative thoughts. These things come in. You cannot escape weeds. They enter from all over. What you have to do is pull them out before they get big. Now, when they're bigger, this is when it requires more work. Let's say you have a whole tree there that you don't want. You have to chainsaw it, remove the roots, remove the whole entire thing. And the bigger it is, the more work it requires. And this is much like the way it works in our mind. All of these old thoughts that don't serve us require work to remove as well. Remember that you are the gardener. And the gardener's job is to keep everything under control and in order. We are the gardeners of our own mind. And as we watch our own mind and we take care of our mind, then it becomes easy to plant all of the things we want for ourselves. Hopefully this helps you understand how your mind works and how to change everything. And then this will help you understand your own thoughts from a different perspective. Now that you see them in a different light, it becomes something that is more real and less abstract. And you can apply these principles to yourself and see them for what they are. See them as seeds in your own mind, and you see thoughts as seeds, and then you see the influence of other people as seeds as well. And then you can block them out and remove them. It's much like this. You don't have to be a victim of other people. You don't have to be the victim of other people's thoughts and emotions anymore. And in the end, we always reap what we sow. And this is not always our fault. But what is in our field will just come to reveal itself in time. As the thoughts we have in our mind grow, they will show themselves in our outer world. As we conduct ourselves in a certain way, interact with the people around us, this shows outwardly. So no matter how hopeless a garden can look, no matter how dirty, no matter how unkept it is, you can always clean it up. You can always call in the farmer. You can always tear everything apart, cut the grass, remove everything, and make your garden a nice place to be in. You can even call it the Garden of Paradise. You can call it Eden. But when it's out of control, it can be a place that is very uncomfortable to be in. So make it a comfortable place to be in and make it paradise for yourself.